What is a rubber husband? This is a rubber husband. It's basically something to help you open jars. I always like to take things over the top. Not only did I change the shape and design of the typical rubber husband, but I'm also going to incorporate embroidery using my Octi-HOOPS. This is a hoop system that allows everybody to embroider on any sewing machine with a straight stitch. It has little holes on all 8 sides of the frame that allow you to put this little handle into, and the back side is designed to allow our stabilizer to adhere to it so that you don't have to hoop your fabric and your fabric just stays in the hoop. Another product that I'm using in this video is the Hold Light stabilizer, which makes it so the sticky rubbery surface of the shelf liner that we use to make the rubber husbands do not stick to the sewing machine or the presser foot. So you will not have difficulty sewing your rubber husband. If you want to know everything that I did to get to this point, I did do a live video of this particular project where I did create this particular rubber husband. So if you want to learn this exact one, make sure you check my live video feed on my YouTube channel or look inside my Facebook groups and my Twitter. I've been working on the dog's face, and now it's time to do his tail. I'm going to use the same color yellow that I used for the tail, and all I have selected is a straight stitch on my sewing machine. The hoop slides real easy on the surface of the machine. This handle just drops into the hole on the frame, and you're able to then draw with your fingers. I just brought my bobbin thread up through the fabric and then hold my finger down on the thread. Go ahead and sew a little bit. And then cut those tails so they don't distract you. And now I'm going to draw or fill in the area the way that the tail is shaped. On the cheek, I went side to side. On the chin, I went up and down. And on the head, I went at an angle. And all of that is the same color thread. It looks like different colors because of the light hitting it in different ways. You can go as slow or as fast as feels comfortable for you and your eyesight. And color in little sections. To save yourself having to bring your bobbin thread up every time, go ahead and just cut your needle thread only. After you raise the foot, just kind of pull the thread out and then cut just the needle thread. It's important that the presser foot be raised when you change colors of thread. That opens the tension discs and allows the thread to drop in between them. Then when you lower the foot, the thread tension is applied to your needle thread and stops it from just falling to the bottom, creating that pile up of thread people call the bird's nest. The ergonomic position that you should be in for embroidering is having your elbows resting on the table. To prevent your elbow from getting injury from sitting on the hard surface, I've created this little pillow I call a bolster pillow to rest your elbow on. And that way, well, your elbow doesn't hurt and you can rest while you do your embroidery. If you need glasses, make sure you wear them. And then you rest your other hand on the sewing machine and begin sewing while keeping your arms down and relaxing all the muscles in your shoulder. It's a good idea to go up and down in your stitching so that you can see that you're lining up your rows of stitches side by side rather than creating a space like that. How fast you move your hands based on the speed of the machine is what determines the size of the stitch. So you can see that I'm getting a really large stitch right here, and that's because I'm running the machine really slow. In the beginning, you'll probably feel more comfortable sticking with a slightly reduced speed. This is my speed control. I had it at full speed. I'm going to take it down a little bit, and that makes it so I can't accidentally go too fast. You might like to outline your stitches first like that, if that's what you tend to do when you color in a coloring book. We want to use a thinner thread in the bobbin than in the needle so that it takes up less space on the bottom. That way you can apply more thread on the top without adding a bunch of weight to the actual fabric. You can quadrant off using a pen to help you to maintain these stitch direction, or draw lines using your needle. And that way it'll keep you from all of a sudden changing your stitch direction and making the area look deformed. Now to get from here to here, I'm just going to sew a few stitches in place, raise the foot to open the tension discs, pull it over, and then lower the foot, and continue. I'm going to do the same stitch direction here and the same steps. Raise the foot, slide over, lower the foot. Secure it, and then continue filling it in. On to the next color. I'm going to go ahead and cut these carryover stitches. If you don't cut your bobbin thread, you don't have to bring it back up again. On the ear, I'm going slower with the machine and moving my hand faster to create longer stitches. And I realize I've still not lowered my feed dogs, so I'm going to go ahead and lower them. That way you know you can sew with your feed dogs lowered. Get a stitch in another color, you'll be able to go ahead and stitch right over that when you come in with the next color. But you might find it's helpful if you outline before filling in. And what that does for you is it makes it so that you're not feeling the need to move your head to look around the presser foot. If the foot is not there, well, there's nothing in your way. So you can sit with a more healthy posture and have a lot more fun because your back isn't going to hurt from twisting or contorting yourself as you embroider. Now I'm moving to the next hole in the hoop to put the handle into, simply because I was starting to feel like I was using my hand too much. I'm going to do the dog's nose next, and I want it to stand out so that it looks like it's the tallest thing on his face. And one of the things it has is it has the highlight of the white. So I'm going to put the white thread down first to help me not lose that spot altogether. I'm filling in the area, and then I'm going to do a long stitch, one stitch at a time, moving the hoop a little bit as I progress down. And what this is going to do is raise this up a little bit. It's also a great way of making something look like you tied a knot. So if you want to do an embroidery look and make it look hand embroidered, you can create these thicker areas. I'm going to do the same technique that I did for the spot on the nose. Go ahead and fill in. It's also a really good idea to take a picture of this so that you know where all the elements are in case you cover something up. Okay, now I'm going to take and move my fabric all the way from one end to the other. Doing it really slow, one stitch at a time. And what this is doing is covering up the stitching I already did. And it's going to pull this nose up and out of the picture. Everything that you see is just a straight stitch. So this is a straight stitch becoming a gigantic zigzag stitch. Over here, and if you feel like you can't handle such a long movement, you can break it into two. Not a bad idea if you're doing an embroidery like this on a pajama or something. You don't want your finger to get stuck underneath the stitch. After a while, you'll get to where you can do this faster, especially if you're not looking at the needle. Instead of looking at the needle, you look where you want the needle to land. Then I generally will go around and outline it, even though I'm going to outline it in black. And it gives it that puffy appearance. Then you just continue changing your colors and thinking about the direction of each body part so that your stitch goes in the direction that the paw would go into. And I'll give you a little music as I continue embroidering this. And then I'm going to turn this into a rubber husband. I want to kind of have this ear curve around, so I'm going to draw guidelines to help me not lose my stitch direction. using this iron erase friction marker pen. And then you can go ahead and draw right over your guidelines with the thread so that you can see it better. Now I'm going to do the larger stitches, but I'm going to do it in two. So the toe, really slow. Whenever I do the large stitch, I always outline. It makes it puff even more. So now that really looks like his toes are sticking out. Once again, I do the big stitch. Well, now it's time for me to put some black thread in, or I could use another color. I could use a dark purple or a blue. I think I'll stick with black. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in or cover up all the lines that are on the design of this adorable piece of art that Loralie actually turned into this fabric and also into embroidery designs. So if you're interested in getting her embroidery designs for this, go ahead and look for the link in the description below my video to find out more about this wonderful artist. I'm also going to use a black bobbin. That way, if any of the bobbin thread comes up to the top, you won't be able to see it. If you need glasses, definitely don't try doing an outline stitch without them. I'm going to keep it looking like her artwork. Some areas she has the stitch or the line space out from another line. If you sit too long, you'll hear a plucking sound. This is when it really starts to look like a cartoon. not going to go any further without doing his little whiskers. You might get to where you don't want to stop, and that's when you get sloppy. But what's nice about Loralie's design here is that it's sloppy. So odds are people won't notice if you mess up, especially if they don't have proof that you messed up by having the fabric to look at that you embroidered over. Just keep in mind to stop and readjust your hand position. Don't try to keep going. There's no rush. I'm going to accentuate the toes, even though she didn't do it. Now this is getting too close to the needle bar, so I need to move it. That's the embroidery part of this two-part video. Go ahead and click on the link to see how I turn this into a rubber husband. Creative feet. What will you create?